Hello, my dear ones, in another material. Recently, in one of the films, we talked about the polar vortex. We took a look at how the situation with this vortex looks. You really liked this material. You wanted more on this topic to follow up here. And this time, I will definitely rely on the website Weather is Cool. Very good site, so I highly recommend it. And here are a few topics, things we will, of course, discuss. But let's start primarily with what we will start primarily with the state of the vortex, the geopotential field, and also mainly with temperatures to see how the situation with these temperatures looks. Of course, the more blue the color, the better for us, because these temperatures are lower precisely in the area of the polar vortex itself. And here we also have the North Pole. And of course, as I mentioned to you, the vortex is a large low pressure system that concentrates very cold air within its area. And the stronger the vortex is, usually milder, the winter is for us. For now, everything seems to indicate that this vortex will continue to strengthen. Its condition will be good, so we shouldn't expect any changes, at least for the time being. We can generally see here that across the entire area of the geopotential field, but also regarding these temperatures, we have very low temperatures here, 70, 75, 78 degrees Celsius. I'll switch it, because it's very easy to accidentally switch. Okay? And we can see that. In the coming hours, we have very low temperatures in the vortex itself. And these temperatures are likely to persist for a longer period. Even though we indeed see a high atmospheric pressure area around Kamchatka, this high shouldn't harm the polar vortex in any way. It will gently push it towards Europe, but nonetheless, we will have very little change in the weather. Here, it is generally easier to imagine it, especially in the 3D form. I am showing you, for example, from the StratObserve site, but we will, of course, go through this calmly in a moment. I am switching to the second map here, which requires a bit of imagination to visualize it better. I'll quickly explain what it's about. At the very bottom, we have the northern hemisphere, and of course Poland is here, where that dot is, while we have the northern hemisphere here. This map at the top is a map that goes upwards into the sky, so the troposphere, stratosphere, and here the point is the intersection of these two maps. The point of contact of these areas in the northern hemisphere. And thanks to this, we can imagine the cross-section of this vortex. The darker the blue color, the lower the temperatures are slightly in that area. And here we have the cross-section of this vortex. We can see whether this vortex touches, and above all, where it touches the Earth's surface. One must, so to speak, observe it organoleptically. But really, thanks to this, we can observe the state of this vortex. We see that day by day it will become stronger. Here we see it right over Kamchatka. Look, here we have Kamchatka. We see here the high pressure that is forming and pushing this vortex more towards Europe and North America. And here we can mark this low pressure. We see that it is there. The strongest, in the coming days, everything indicates that it will be gently pushed here towards Europe and towards America, but despite the States. America, yes, North America, but nonetheless it will be quite well maintained here. I am switching further. We have the wind gust speeds from the west at an altitude of 10 hectopascals according to GWS models, and we see that these gusts will continue. And this is indeed very good news. We are carefully taking a look at how this might potentially look in detail, considering various scenarios and possibilities. As of now, from November 26-28, gusts are somewhere around here. Wind speed may be about 30-35 meters per second. However, we can already see significant increases according to various calculations from November 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, the 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th of November. Generally, the latest calculations are being adjusted upwards a bit, so here we see that around November 30th to December 2nd, we would have 40-45 km per hour, but at the level of 50 meters per second, the gusts would come in around December 6th to 7th or 8th, so we would then have very high speeds per second, but at the level of 50 ms, the gusts would come in around the 6th, 7th, and 8th of December, so we would then have very high speeds. This wind would mean that the vortex would indeed be in very good condition, in very good shape. Here is also a very nice chart that shows us quite a lot, but there are a lot of arrows, a lot of combinations, and a lot of lines on the chart. What interests us is what we have now. We have November now, November and December, so we have this area here. We can see here that soon an increase in these speeds above 50 kilometers is also forecasted, above approximately 50 meters per second. And we can see here that these gusts may be even stronger, up to 58 to 59 meters per second. So everything indicates that we will have a period of stabilization and strengthening of this trend. Later, we see some drops in this speed to 40-45, 40 to 45, but it will still be at a fairly high level for this time. So in terms of lack of frost and lack of harsh winter attacks, this is promising for us. The only question is, what do we prefer? Do we prefer this or do we prefer snow? But that is a question for you. Here we also have a mother. Also visible in the GFS model is the arrangement of this vortex in the northern hemisphere. And we can see perfectly here that it is being pushed somewhere towards Greenland, also towards North America and Europe, while on the other side, that is on the Pacific side, we have high pressure system. But as I said, it does not interfere in any way here. We can see the entire vortex very clearly outlined in the latest calculations from 1927, also in the GEOS model, because this time we are using the GEOS model. It is holding very strong, and there is no indication that anything is happening with it. So here, rather without major changes, you have already seen this map. So let's take a look at the wind speeds. We can see that the ring at an altitude of 10 hectopascals is practically maintained. There are places, of course, where the gusts are stronger and places where they are weaker. But overall, we have a very nicely outlined ring. So here we do not see any concerning things in the coming days. In fact, we will even have a strengthening somewhere around 5, 6, 7. Looks beautiful. Let's take a look at the temperature anomalies at an altitude of 10 hectopascals. See? GFS has been working quite sluggishly, I will honestly tell you lately. Well, it is beautifully outlined over Alaska on the 29th. Negative anomaly, but not large, appropriate. And moving on. So we see here that there will probably not be any major problems with it in the near future. Let's load one more map, probably a major one in the near future. This is one of my favorite maps. It is a bit fight-like because the colors it has. However, it beautifully illustrates what the temperature looks like at an altitude of 10 hectopascals. And here, over the north, where we have the polar vortex, we have temperatures around -70, -80 degrees Celsius. So these are very low temperatures, and these temperatures will obviously persist in this vortex for a longer time. And I will also take a look at the temperatures at a height of 2 meters, because this is very important for us. In this next period, as we can clearly observe, we mainly and predominantly see that the coolest air is continuously flowing. If it is to flow anywhere, it flows mainly over Canada. There we definitely have severe temperatures. These temperatures are very low, and this cool air flows all the way to the northern and central areas of the United States. It is also starting to flow quite strongly over Siberia, but when it comes to Europe, there are no significant changes here, apart from the 4th and 5th, when we will have a somewhat noticeable flow of cooler air masses and noticeable changes in the atmosphere. There are not many strong flows visible, like those occurring Canada or in northern Siberia in particular. So we are facing a rather calm period in the weather in terms of temperatures and low frosts. I mean, frosts, in terms of frosts, at least December does not seem to predict any drastic drop in temperatures, which we can certainly keep in mind